All right, welcome to a special edition of Weather and Climate Chat with Monsoon Mike and Dr. Michael Davis, recording this on, what is this?
Wednesday.
I'm losing track of days. It's such a crazy week. Wednesday, February 8th, and as I joked about on Monday, if you hear our voices again, snow might not be too far behind.
That's right.
And you're hearing our voices again, and snow is not too far behind.
Indeed it is.
Now, what has everybody thrown off? I'm still getting people sending me messages. How is it even going to be possible? It's so gorgeous out today. Philly made it well into the 60s. I think we even approached or touched 60. Or at
I
least
think we did get 60.
Okay.
I measured 60, I think, just a couple hours ago. So.
All right. Our cold front is already through, I saw the Weather Service say, but it's one of those fronts where the cold's a little bit delayed behind. So that's why, it will progressively get colder.
In meteorological terms, sometimes you can have a cold front pass, and
Right.
then the Arctic front is behind it. So
All right.
the colder air is currently sitting across Ohio and Indiana and Michigan right now, and that's coming our way.
Okay. Well, people want to hear about what's coming with that cold, and we have a we're due for this. We haven't had anything much all winter except these little nickel and dime storms, as I like to say, and finally we've got something decent to track. What are we looking at, Dr. Davis?
Well, the low is going to be coming out of the Midwest right now. In fact, the storm center is pretty much across Iowa and Illinois. And eventually it's going to be heading pretty much up the Ohio River Valley. Mm-hmm. And by the overnight hours, it's going to be going over the Appalachians. And when it does, it's going to pretty much, well, let me backtrack just a little bit and give you a rundown of Meteorology 101.
Okay, I'm ready.
You have the mountainous areas of the Appalachians. When that energy gets pushed up the Appalachians, it essentially has to compress itself due to the changes in orography or changes in terrain. Mm-hmm. So it kind of slows down circulation. And then as it goes over the mountain, comes down the eastern side, that column, that storm can essentially stretch out. And then you get spinning action that increases. So the storm will intensify once it gets over the mountains. And then that should take place about 2, 3 in the morning or so. Mm-hmm. And by the time it reaches, say, West Virginia, Maryland, the Virginia area, you're going to be having more in the way of that severe storm in terms of that winter storm itself and bringing us heavy amounts of snow to eastern Pennsylvania roughly around the 4 to 10 a.m. mark. And the atmosphere is looking incredibly moist right now. And you have a good amount of low-level moisture convergence. And typically if you have convergence, that's an uplift mechanism, so the air will be forced to rise and help to fuel that storm that you have with all the ample moisture in the atmosphere.
So this is not going to be one of the, when you said there's lots of moisture to work with in the atmosphere, this is not going to be one of those situations where we have dew points that are like 10 or 20 and it takes a long time for the atmosphere to moisten up. When that precipitation hits, it's going to hit.
Yeah, the atmosphere is going to be pretty saturated at that point, so there'll be plenty of moisture to work with. So the snow should be coming fairly at a good clip. Mm-hmm. You're going to be looking at maybe snowfall rates about 1 inch, maybe 2 per hour. The only thing that I have some reservations about is with all this warmth that we had, how fast is that warmth going to get out?
Right.
And secondly, we're expecting a layer of rain and then potentially sleet and whatnot that could happen before the main snow event. And that's going to make it quite difficult for the snow to start actually accumulating at the beginning of the event.
Right. Now, see, I'm looking at you're absolutely right. I'm looking at the NAM model, the 18Z run, and at 1 a.m., the 540 line and the rain snow line is pretty much right over us. So we could actually start with a little bit of rain.
Yeah, the rain should start about midnight or so.
Midnight, 1 a.m.
And then you're going to be getting more in the way of frozen precipitation in terms of sleet, freezing rain perhaps, around 2, 3 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then by 4, it should be all snow, and it's going to be coming down pretty fast. I told my students it could be pretty much like a snow globe outside. Potentially. Which
makes me quite happy because I've been snow deprived. So I might have to stay up all night.
But the storm is moving very quickly.
Yes. Yeah, it's a quick moving storm, and I see what you're talking about. I mean, once the low pressure gets over Virginia, it just totally blows up into, and it's impressive at that point.
That's what we call a vortex stretching.
Okay.
And you can also think of it as, well, the more scientifically inclined might you hear the terms of the conservation of potential vorticity.
Now, it's going to be for folks that are a little further south, like down toward Philly, it's going to be tricky because it looks like at the height of the storm, they could still be having some mixing down there. Like,
Yes.
So toward Philly, this could be sleet. What would you say, sleet?
Yeah, towards Philly, I would probably say more in the way of sleet, rain, maybe some snow getting mixed in. They're going to have the lowest totals. I'm generally thinking about 3 to 5 inches down there for Philly. A little bit more as you go further up. It seems like Berks County, Lehigh, and Northampton seem to be really under the gun for this main band to form.
And even my county, Schuylkill, looks pretty safe with this particular run, so I'm pretty happy about that. But then, like we said, the storm is a fairly quick mover. It looks like this gets out of here. It's still going around 7 a.m., perhaps not quite as heavy at that point, but still going pretty good. Looks like the back edge is wrapping up somewhere around 10, so I think that's probably, like you had said before, about 10 is a safe.
And we don't have any blocking in the Atlantic right now, which typically, in terms of winter weather, you want a blocked system. So essentially, if you have a high pressure system that's sitting over the Canadian Maritimes of Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, that area, it'll slow down that low pressure. But we don't have that blocking high in place, so that low is free to move out to sea fairly quickly.
If there was something blocking, we could really be buried.
Definitely. If we had a blocking high in place, we'd be looking at least a foot, maybe 2.
I was going to say 2-3 feet if we were blocking. Yeah.
We also had just move offshore, that low pressure system off the southeast coast of the United States that brought the tornadoes to Louisiana and Alabama, Mississippi down toward south. So that kind of moved out. So that was free to move, and then right on the tails is going to be this low pressure.
So another factor I want to put out there before we get into the famous A word, accumulations. Wind. Is there going to be, with a storm like this, you worry about blowing and drifting as well, too. I mean, the storm is going to end probably like around 10 tomorrow, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be, it's going to take some time for the road crews to catch up, obviously. And we're going to have a gusty wind as well, too. So we could have some blowing and drifting issues.
Yeah, as the low gets closer to us, and looking at the models that we have in front of us right now, it looks like the pressure gradient is not that strong
it's not
ahead
that
of
intense.
The storm.
Right.
So once the low passes us, which looks to be about 7 a.m. or so.
Yeah, this is
8 maybe, somewhere around that time. That's when the pressure gradient tightens, and then you'll be looking at the heavier, stronger wind, I should say.
At 7 a.m., it's pretty much right over Delaware, like Rehoboth Beach area.
Yeah, once that gets to our east, then the winds will be kicking up.
So after about 7 tomorrow, we'll see the winds kicking. Okay.
And that would probably be about 15, 20 miles an hour or so.
I saw them actually issuing the B word up for the Boston area, blizzard warnings.
Yeah, I saw some from Long Island, too.
Yeah, so the New England's going to get nailed as well, too. But
now, interesting with blizzard warnings, though, that you should bring that up, is because there's no snow total that's needed for a blizzard warning.
Right.
You don't need X inches of snow for a blizzard.
Right.
It's only the time duration, the visibility, and the wind.
Right. Okay.
So just to clarify that, I've always had to point out to people it's not technically a blizzard.
And sometimes people, nothing against the National Weather Service, but sometimes they are a little loose with that term blizzard because to get a true blizzard, it's pretty difficult. What's it have to be, like 35 mile an hour
35
winds?
mile per hour winds.
Yeah.
Visibility less than a quarter mile.
Right.
And those conditions for at least 3 hours.
That might be borderline. I don't know if they quite get the 35 mile an hour winds for 3 hours, but it's going to be close.
Yeah. I think we're going to have the visibility problem.
Definitely.
I think we're going to have the duration, but not necessarily the wind.
Okay. But close enough. For all
it's going to be a winter storm, and that's why we're under the winter storm warning.
Close enough. And
from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. tomorrow.
And perhaps the Weather Service's use of the word is to maybe get people's attention, so they take it seriously. I don't know.
I was telling students today that when the Weather Service issues a winter storm warning, it typically means they're going to get a very heavy snow within the next 24 hours. Yesterday, we were under a winter storm watch,
right,
which typically means that conditions are favorable, and maybe in the next 48 hours, you're going to get something.
There's our national map full of warnings there. And
we have warnings all the way from western Pennsylvania up to Maine.
Yep. So it's definitely we definitely got that coming. So now let's get to the big word that everybody wants to hear: accumulations. I don't know. We can make this into our little fun contest again, but
I think we've done it before, haven't we?
we've done it before. I mean, I'm always the Mr. Conservative when it comes to this, but I'm starting to get a little more convinced, having seen some of these latest runs and the skew tees and stuff. I'm going to go with Kutztown 8 to 10 inches. Yeah, 8 to 10.
You're going 8 to 10. That's kind of aggressive.
That is for me. Yeah, but I 6 to 10. I'll say 6 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 6 to 8 myself.
Okay. All right.
Although I very well could be eating my words and it maybe more closer to 9, 10.
Yeah.
So I think you and I are kind of on the same page.
Am I cheating too much by being having a 4-inch range there, 6 to 10? Is that cheating?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right, so I'm going to say 6 to 10. And
I've been saying 6 to 8, and I've
Okay.
been sticking with it.
I'm going to do the 10 because I think that whoever winds up under like a really intense band, if that sets up and stays over a spot for a while, somebody could easily get a 10.
I am banking on the storm moving out quickly.
That's the only thing. Like I said, it's going to be a very quick mover. And one thing that we didn't mention that some of our other fellow weather people out there have been mentioning, and we should put it out there just so that nobody is scared if this happens. We have a very dynamic storm here that could produce some thunder snow.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about that.
Thunder snow is a phenomenon that pretty much occurs when you have sharply rising air. I mean, when you look at the summer time, when you have, say, thunderstorms and you get thunder generated from air being lifted up very quickly, the same thing can happen with winter storms.
Mm-hmm.
Only you don't really have it that frequently because when this winter time you have not as much heat at the surface, so the uplift isn't as strong as what you would find in the summer, nor as deep. So in which case, it's not really that common,
Right.
but it can occur by the same principle: air rising very quickly and essentially exchanging charges between the water droplets, supercooled water droplets, I might add,
Right.
and the ice crystals, and then you have thunder being produced as a result.
Okay.
From when the lightning occurs, there can be lightning.
And if that did happen, it looks like the heaviest bands would be over us somewhere in the 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. time range. So there could be some people rattled out of bed if one of those thunderclaps happens.
I do think it's going to be closer toward the actual rain
Me too.
itself. So
Me too.
like Philadelphia,
More likely that
Maryland, Delaware, I think they're going to have the greater chance than we
of having
will.
the thunder snow. Okay. But we could still have some around here.
Yeah, we might get a Rogue One somewhere.
a Rogue One somewhere. Okay.
Rogue One. Good movie.
Oh, there you go. Put up bum ching. There you go. Good one, Dr. Davis. All right. Well, I think we pretty much covered. Yeah, we got about 12 minutes down. I think we pretty much covered all the ins and outs of this storm. One thing I do like to put out there is the famous "what could go wrong" factor. What do you think the bust potential is on this? I mean, I think we're pretty safe that we at least get a plowable snowstorm.
I do think we're going to get some snow.
Yeah.
I do think it's going to be generally more than 2 inches, which is what I've seen at the very low end of all the model runs. I'm thinking the bust potential's pretty low right now.
Okay.
I think given that we're about 8 hours or so away from the event, that the models have a pretty good job. And it does seem like good agreement between them that there is going to be some type of storm system developing.
Okay.
Now, I think we could have some trouble with the timing in terms of how fast it gets out of here. If it somehow just takes a track further toward the north, we get more rain.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that on some of the low-level charts, like 850 millibars, it's about 1 mile up or so, it does look like there's a little bit of a hint of a dry slot developing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And if that dry slot comes in, that's going to essentially eat up some of the snowfall totals.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I guess. Am I right? I'm looking. I have trouble seeing from here. Yeah.
It didn't look very pronounced when I looked at it.
Yeah, I saw it more yesterday, but I'm not seeing it so much today. So, okay, yeah. All right, so that's something to watch as well too. Is if a dry slot forms and tends to cut the precipitation off in a couple spots.
Yeah, I'm not overly confident about a dry slot, though. I think the bigger bust lies with how fast it moves and where it actually goes.
Where it actually goes, if it tracks a little bit different. All right.
Although I am fairly confident that we're going to get some type of measurable snowfall.
Oh, I see what I was doing wrong. I always do this. I was clicking on previous runs instead instead of moving the darn thing. I always mix up the arrows. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay, that's 1 a.m. and then it fills in. Yeah, I don't really see much of a dry slotting there, but it's possible. It's definitely possible. Mm-hmm. So follow us. I don't know how late you're going to be up tonight tracking this. I mean, I'll probably have trouble sleeping since I'm a snow geek. So and my associate Stormwatch Sal, who's never sleeps. So we'll be watching.
One of the two of us will have
somebody will be around somewhere. So Monsoon Mike's Weather Headquarters, and you want to give your
Dr. Michael Davis's WX.
Okay, and just a quick thing about travel. It looks like if you're going to be out traveling, bad travel anywhere from 1 to 9-ish, 10-ish tomorrow. And
the roads are going to be pretty horrible.
And even after that, it's going to be a matter of how fast they can clean up. Mm-hmm. So we can expect some problems into the early afternoon at least. So, okay, well, that pretty much does it for Dr. Michael Davis and Monsoon Mike. And enjoy the snow, sir.
You too.
All right, talk to you later.